Newton News is brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank. This week on Newton News, the 2020-2021 City Council Caucus votes in a new president and vice president. City councilors say farewell during their last meeting. And the Washington Street Vision Plan is approved. The 2020-2021 City Council Caucus has voted in a new president and vice president for the next term. Councilor Susan Albright will lead the council and assign committee chair positions, and Councilor Rick Lipoff will be second in command as vice president. Congratulations to them both. The last City Council meeting of 2019 brought closure for 5 city councilors, as this was their last meeting. Stepping down are ward councilors Brussel Glazier, Rice, and Lappin, and 2 councilors at large who were unseated, Cody and Schwartz, said their farewells and thanks to the city of Newton.
I just wanted to quickly say, 6 years ago, if you said that my bestie on the city council would be a Republican ex-Marine, I wouldn't have believed you. But I want to thank Jim Cody for always having my back in Ward 3. It's really been great to work with you. I want to thank Mark Laredo, David Kalis, and everyone here, and David Olson and Nadia Khan for everything. And then I especially want to thank Maggie Brussel Glazer and Lawrence Glazer for having my back at home. So thank you, and thanks to everyone who voted for me 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, and that's it.
If I do come back on the city council, I don't want to have aggravated everybody here and to not talk to me when I come back on. So first I'd like to thank, you couldn't possibly do this job unless you have a lot of family support. And with my family in particular, I was able to do this job really like as a family project. So my wife, Albie, who most of you know, has been like my secret weapon along with Max, our son, because I'm able to take them to a lot of meetings. They do community outreach for me where I couldn't be someplace. They attended meetings that I couldn't make. So I was able to cover a lot of ground, and I thank Albie, Max, and a lot of my other family members who helped throughout the years, the last 6 years, because without their support and everything, as everybody knows, we're all from family backgrounds, you can't do this job if you don't have that support back home. So thanking my family there, and then I guess probably a lot of people don't realize that we may have 10 children, 6 grandchildren, and a few others. I can't even remember all the secondaries we have, but I come from a family of 8 myself, an Irish family, so my getting elected in 2013 completed the Irish family. So my mother and father, my father's a deceased Attleboro police officer, but we completed the whole thing of what an Irish family had to have. So we have a deacon, we have military people, I have a sister married to cops, I have a sister who works in a hospital, so we had the whole cover. We didn't have a politician. So it was kind of a family deal saying, okay, we can get one politician out of this, we'll be all good. So that's what my role in the family has been for the past. But not to take too much longer, but I just want to remind all my colleagues here, it's been great serving with all of you. I know everybody here has the back of the residents on their mind, and it's something we deal with every day. And I don't have to remind people to remember them because they're foremost and forefront to us today. In a day and age of email, social media, and everything else, we have a lot of contact. But so I take great pride in the fact that I served on the City Council for the last 6 years with a group of folks such as yourselves and previous members of the council that have just been doing such a great job for the residents, because a lot of what's out there, people just don't see everything that happens. And of course, between administration, poor Mark Laredo sat next to me for 4 years on my chair. So he had to be like my referee. So I thank a lot of people for that. And you notice my chair has nobody on the other side. That was by design. Mark felt they could only have one coverage for me. But so I'd like to thank everybody for for having me here. I thought it was a great job being on City Council. I appreciated the role. I appreciated the time, and I look forward to your continued success as a City Council in the next term. Thank you.
It has been a privilege to represent Ward 8 and the whole city for 18 years. As you've heard from my colleagues, and as you know, this can't be done in a vacuum. I could not have done this without the support of my husband, Fred, and my son, Max, and daughter Samantha. Max set an example of how to step out of your comfort zone, and Samantha has been a supporter and a coach for years. It's her 30th birthday today. So I have served on 9 different city councils. I've served with 3 different mayors. I've chaired committees. I've been vice chairs of committees. I've been on search committees for department heads. I've been on the recodification committee, the redistricting committee. I feel like I've been there and done that. I also served in leadership for 8 years, and it was a privilege. I've even served as acting mayor 3 or 4 times. So I feel like it's been wonderful. I've really gotten to do a lot, and it's been a unique opportunity. I'm proud of the things we've accomplished together, and it has been a pleasure working with every single one of you. You know the commitment and the responsibility, and you all share a love of Newton that I have. As you know, I have community service in my blood. So I am looking forward to 25 hours of my week back. And I am looking forward to having Monday nights with my husband. And although I will not miss the night meetings and the 80 emails a day, I will miss each and every one of you. And I will miss working with you. I will miss socializing with you. I will miss your friendship. And we are all family. Well, actually, one of us really is. But I feel like we joke that we spend more time with each other than our family, which ends up happening. And you really are my family. So it is a pleasure, and thank you. And I know that the city is in good hands with this council. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank my wife, Bonnie, who, it's sort of like the good news, bad news scenario. I've usually been out 3-4 nights a week, especially with area councils. So the good news is I'll be home more often. The bad news is I'll be home more often. But especially because I like to have a lot of activities and a lot of going different places. So my Bonnie, our feeling is going to be sitting there going, where are we going tonight? Where are we going tonight? So I'm looking forward to having more time with the family. But I served with a lot of my colleagues. It's been great working with this city council and the prior city councils. Going back 10 years. I appreciate working with Councilor Crossley for 10 years, Councilor Downs for 2 years, and Councilor Yates, who was really funny and enjoyable for 8 years. So I was the last Ward 5 alderman. As the ward alderman, I was the first Ward 5 councillor. I'm usually not the most verbose city councillor. We had 5 city councillors join the city council back in 2010, and I was definitely the last one to speak. I think it was like 2 months into the term, and when I raised my hand, President Lennon was like, "You are going to speak," and so I figured I might stay here and do a filibuster, read the CIP for 3 hours, and get caught up with everything. I was lucky to be the chair and co-chair of the Programs and Services Committee over 6 years. I've seen a lot of things happen in Ward 5. We're the only ward in the city that has an area council in Upper Falls and Newton Highlands and Waban, which I helped people create. And unfortunately, which meant every Thursday night I was at an Upper Falls or Highlands or Waban area council meeting. I was also on the building committee of Zervis and Anger. So with a number of members of the city council, we worked together and did a great job building 2 new schools. I worked on the Greenway with Councilor Crossley, and also working on a number of projects like the Highlands Playground for that must have been 10 to 12 years. So I'm not going away. I still running the High Community Center. I'll be there many a night and many an afternoon. So come on by. So I'm still going to be doing community service projects. So I really enjoyed my time on City Council, and I'd like to thank all of you. Thank you.
So I like the ring of that, real acting president. I like that. All right. So just a couple of minutes for me. So I thought I'd not go with the song that Councilor Noel suggested I do. I think that everybody will appreciate that. Tonight's an end of a chapter for me. It's been 8 years. It feels like just yesterday, but I guess 8 years is a long time. As I was thinking about the time that's passed, I thought about how my kids, my 2 daughters, who I've mentioned a couple times in the past, were age 3 and 6 when I started, and now they're 11 and 14 and giving me all kinds of advice about issues that they care about, so climate change and other issues that are important to their future. And my daughter just last night was studying for her 6th grade history test that she had today, and she was saying, she was memorizing the definitions of culture and religion and government. And she's like, legislative, what is that? That's legislative, that's the one. And I was like, come on now, come on. It's been 8 years, come on. So she figured it out. She's like, that's the one that passes the laws. And then since her mom is a judge, I said, what about judicial? And she got that one too. So, but so it has been a long time, and I think Cheryl pointed out that Scott used to always say that it's like a family here. We spend more time here than with our family, so it actually does become like a family. And having served with all of you, I definitely cherish that. The family that you provide is a tremendous one. And as I was thinking about what to talk about, I thought I know you guys have heard a lot about my lawyer and a doctor, but I don't think you've ever heard about my family when I was growing up. So it kind of is a bit of the reason why I got involved, and that is that my father and mother were very active in local politics in New York City on the Upper West Side in the 1950s. They were leaders in the early Reform Democrats movement, which essentially worked to finally wrest the final control from Tammany Hall-style politics from the party bosses. Carmine DeSapio was the last remaining one, and they were right there with a couple of other prominent folks like Ted Weiss and Ronnie Eldridge, Bella Abzug, and even Ed Koch at that time. And so after that period, it just came naturally for us to talk at the dinner table and talk about the issues at hand, and some of them involved blocking a project called Westway, which you guys might have heard of. It was kind of like the Southeast Corridor Expressway here, that in the late 70s there was a proposal to basically pave over the whole Riverside Park that's along the west side of Manhattan Island from 42nd Street up to the Cross Bronx Expressway and put in a 6 or 8 lane superhighway. So that was a big topic of opposition in my family, and we were part of that whole movement to block it, which we were successful. And then, of course, Trump City, which came in the late 70s in the area between 72nd and 66th Street, between West End Avenue and the river. There was this developer, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, who wanted to build more than 10 very large buildings there, and it seemed like it was going to happen, but there was a lot of local opposition. It delayed it by quite a few years. I think that the environmental impact of the project on the, not boll weevil, but some kind of weevil in the piers that were remaining in the West Hudson River was actually one of the major delaying tactics that succeeded in reducing the size a little bit. So different time, some similar issues, but not exact. Certainly at that time, we were very much against that. But my father continued to be involved, and in his private life was a lawyer who practiced always what he preached. He said conciliation over confrontation was always preferable, and he always tried to bring people, his clients, and the other side together. And I think that that's something that both in politics and in law is a good goal. And I think that's something that I've observed through my time growing up and in my earlier political life to see is very valuable. And I think that we've done that here. I would encourage all those who remain on the council to continue to work together. As President Laredo pointed out, we may disagree on some things along the way, but everybody here is motivated by doing the best for the city, and I don't think there's anywhere that that's more evident than at the local level in our society right now, in our politic, that there's definitely the reassurance that I get from seeing the local level is still rooted in what's best and not what gets the most traction in some future conflict, political or otherwise. So while I'm watching you guys on if I don't know if my cable will get it, but on Monday nights I'll be, as I think Bill Murray said in Stripes, if we go into battle with his military colleagues, he said I'll be behind you the whole way. So I'll be watching from afar, and I cherish and really appreciate every one of you and all your friendships and the time that we spent together, and I look forward to all the great things you're going to do in the next couple of years. So thank you very much.
There's a common theme that I think all 5 of you share, and it's this: not one of you did this job for personal power or political advancement. You did this job because you cared deeply about our city. And the way you've done this job, and I think all 5 of you have done the job exactly that way, has been a wonderful model for us and I think all the residents in the city.
One of the last votes of this term's City Council was on the Washington Street Vision Plan. This guideline was voted in with 17 in favor, 6 against, with 1 absent. With the plan in place, the 2020-2021 City Council will now discuss the zoning for Washington Street.
So I wanted to relate an email, a letter that I got today from a constituent who owns a building in not on Washington Street, but near it, concerned that we had rezoned his, I think it's a 2-story office building, as housing. I think that there's a misconception of what we've done. We have not rezoned anything. And this is totally, that page 84, I believe, is where it is. That map is purely a height map. It doesn't rezone any manufacturing or business use into residential. And I think that's been a confusion abroad in the land. And it's very important because the number of housing units, I think it was Tischler Bice, I think that was the name of the company. They couldn't possibly know how many units of housing because they were assuming that the whole strip of Washington Street was housing when it isn't, and we don't want it to be. We want to maintain our commercial tax base. So it's only until we get into the zoning that we can know more about where the housing is planned and where it's not. And I do want to reiterate some of the things that I talked about the first time we reported it out, about the reason why we even, or one of the important reasons why we think we might need the height in certain places. And that was, and you've all read it, we're asking for underground parking. As a community, we said we don't want to build buildings around an overground parking garage. We want the parking to be underground. That's very costly. We want the highest possible standards for sustainability for anything new along Washington Street. That's also very costly. If we want to use the passive house standard or LEED Silver, it's costly. So we need to give the ability to create some density. And finally, we're asking for a lot of affordable housing, which is really important for all of us. And all of these things are costly. And 6 stories it's a story taller than what we've got going up on Washington Street at Washington Place, but it's certainly not what I've heard people say as a skyscraper. So there are important reasons why the plan we should move forward and get into the real solid issues of finding out where the housing is, how tall it should be, where the manufacturing, where the business districts are, how tall they should be. And until we move past this, we're not going to know what we're even really talking about.
So I wanted to say that I agree with many of the things that Council Auchincloss said about the desire to make Washington Street more walkable, and the other things that he mentioned about making it a better stretch of road to serve everyone, whether it's small retail shops or whatever. which is why I was out in front pushing for the trial of Washington Street and the Boulevard look to it, which is why I have worked hard to make sure that there was money to do the preliminary work so that we could get a trial started, hopefully this summer or fall at the latest, which is why I, in Finance at the last meeting, asked for an update from the Commissioner to make sure that we were on track to get that trial done, which I think is an extremely important trial and would be a major change, and I am as interested as the next person in seeing how it works. So I agree with all of that. There are a number of amendments that I could be offering tonight, but I've just come to the conclusion that it's a waste of time, and so I'm not going to waste people's time. I think I'll take my chances with the next council. My hope is that at some point, some of you that constantly vote in a damn block will somehow wake up and decide it's not the right way to do business, and maybe some things will change, because this has just been a miserable 2 years for me personally, and I don't know if I can put up with another 2 years like I just went through. But you will
On the item, Councilor Gentile.
I am speaking about the item because I'm just so frustrated about a council that refuses to listen to its constituents. I don't know what 83% means, but that's not just a suggestion. That's an overwhelming plea to do something. And we just constantly ignore people. And I don't see how we can consistently do that. So I'm not going to waste my time, or the council's time. But there will be some amendments, starting with the 4 stories that people have been asking for, that will be docketed, and will go to zoning and planning, and we'll have plenty of discussion, like people have said we'll be able to do. I don't understand how you can stand up and say that 6 stories doesn't mean anything. It's a number. Well, then if it doesn't mean anything, then just agree and make it 4. And this thing probably would have sailed through, to be honest with you. Everything else everybody could live with, but not the building height. No, not with everything that's going on. So be grandiose sometimes on the other side. But no, because you have the votes, because you have a block, no one's going to give in. So we'll see what happens next term. But there will be several amendments. Tonight, I'm just going to vote against it because of the 6 stories, which is unfortunate because, as everybody has pointed out, the majority of the document has an awful lot of good things in it that I would have been happy to support, but not when it's in there saying that it's okay to build up to 6 stories along this stretch of road. That's just not right. Okay.
Retail marijuana shop Ascend Mass will have to seek a special permit again, as the City Council voted to withdraw without prejudice their current special permit request. This is because the rules require a special permit petition which has not been acted on before the end of the City Council's term require that public hearings must be heard by the Council, who will vote on the item. Looking to help out over the holidays? Consider donating to the Newton Food Drive at City Hall and 30 other locations. Newton's 3 food pantries are asking for breakfast foods. Foods will be collected through Friday, December 27th. And on December 31st at 10 a.m., help sort the food during the Mayor's New Year's Eve open house at the War Memorial at City Hall. Once the food is sorted, stick around for some fun activities. The City of Newton Human Resources Department is looking for a part-time administrative assistant and billing analyst. Under the general direction of the Department of Human Resources, the purpose of this position is to perform responsible and varied clerical, administrative, and billing processing work of a difficult nature to support and enhance the efficiency of operations of the Department of Human Resources. This is a non-benefit position with an hourly rate of $20 to $25 an hour. There are other job openings listed on the city's website at newtonma.gov. Just scroll to the bottom and click on Job Opportunities.
Crossing a finish line, high-fiving a teammate, performing in front of an audience, going to an overnight camp, going out to dance and celebrate with your friends. These are all kinds of opportunities that it's easy to take for granted. But without Newton Athletes Unlimited, many people with disabilities would not have those opportunities.
I have a lot of friends here, a lot of friends, and people I went to school with, people I went to college with. They've seen me as a role model, they've seen me as a leader.
Athletes Unlimited is important for Ben because it is a real anchor in his life. He's doing fun things with all of his friends, being independent, like his brother.
I think Athletes Unlimited is important to the city of Newton because it speaks to the whole concept of inclusiveness. It says we are not going to separate people because of their skill sets, we're going to unite them.
I do swimming, ice skating, horseback riding, track, yoga, camp. You get to see the same faces, or maybe new faces.
I think that in any community, people want to feel that they're accepted. And one of the things that happens at Athletes Unlimited is everybody, whether you're a volunteer or whether you're an athlete, you feel 100% accepted for who you are. What it means to my son is that he truly gets to live his life without limits.
Everybody works together as a team. There's no I in team. I want my teammates to perform their absolute best.
The high fives, the hugs, the connection that is so clearly there, that is so powerful.
Athletes Unlimited has been a big part of my life. It's been
empowering,
inclusive, proud, game changer.
I'm very happy.
It provides the vision, provides the support that our city needs to put on world-class activities for individuals with disabilities.
I love Athletes Unlimited because it helps me to live a long, healthy life.
Newton News was brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.
Just reach in, grab a couple. Vicodin, Perks, Oxy. You're bound to grab something good.
Thanks, bro.
Before I forget, I have some paperwork to go over. Don't worry, it's just a formality.
What'd you say?
This one outlines the general side effects. This one talks specifically about how opioids impact the brain. Here's a list of emergency numbers. Poison control hotline is useful, 911, but you probably already know that number.
Wait, what just happened? When did you change into a suit?
Right, absolutely. Eventually, you're going to turn to heroin. You're going to need a few clean needles for that. It'd be a shame if you contracted HIV or even hepatitis. Oh, and this chart's pretty neat. Look here, it shows how much your addiction will cost over time, both on the drugs and eventually rehab. So I'm just going to need your emergency contact right here. Just sign here, initial here, initial here, initial here, and sign here. By the way, do you have a few more minutes? I got a quick PowerPoint I want to show you.
No, not really.
Don't worry, it'll only take a few minutes. Let me just fire up the projector. As your drug dealer, I want to be sure that you're fully informed so you know exactly what it is you're getting into.